Hello, everyone, and welcome to the New Orleans Pelicans Podcast, part 2 of our discussion of the top 10 games over at the Smoothie King Center, a.k.a. the Blender, for this upcoming season for the Pelicans. Andrew Lopez, silent reporter, and, of course, Jim Eichenhofer for Pelicans.com. We called him Professor in the first one. Do we go evil scientist here with the second edition of it as he concocted this idea of...
The way he just shared that was just like, I like that a lot.
Yes.
I'm at the point where I've been called a lot of different names, so I have a very...
But it's a very positive...
So I'll take that. I'll take those. I'll take either of those descriptors.
Exactly. I love it. Basically, in case you missed the first episode, shame on you. But what we try to do is take a look at the home slate this season and kind of break it down as to maybe the top 10 games that pique our interest for certain reasons, not just because they have good players or coaches, but timing as well. As we go back and take a peek at it, we start with Orlando, that first game that Jamal Mosley's going to face his former team. Miami with Giannis, that's number 9 at 8. Boston, a completely different roster. No Jaylen Brown, Paul George going there. I know Andrew touched on that a little bit. Houston, because Andrew will have been gone for a long time, and the team as well.
I miss my house.
Yeah, be nice to
my actual house. And
7 games, 13 days. That went
7 games, 12 days. We're gonna the best thing about that road trip is it ends in Atlanta, because that means it's a very short flight.
That is very true.
Getting back on Ashburn.
That said, that Wednesday game when you guys get back is going to be interesting. And then Andrew kind of took over this situation again and said, hey, let's make number 6 my birthday, Halloween. Then Jim said it's a Saturday night. You won't see me on Sunday. But that was your top 10 through 6 of the top 10 list. So 5 through 1 as we get started here. And what better way to get started with Jim's favorite team other than the New Orleans Pelicans, the Los Angeles Lakers. You'll see him twice in the month of December. And the one I guess you want to start with is New Year's Eve. So Halloween night on a Saturday night, and you got New Year's Eve with the Lakers. What possibly can you want more?
I can't ask for much more than that. You're right. Yeah, they played December 2nd here, but we wanted to highlight the December 31st game for obvious reasons. Now, I don't think the venom from the crowd for the Lakers is at the same level that it has been.
Great.
As a couple people have departed from the Lakers roster that tended to get booed pretty heavily.
Yeah.
But I still think we can work on this. We can get it back up to where it was. I hope that's one of my goals for the fan base this season, is that we can bring back the hatred for the Lakers to a level that it needs to be.
Okay.
But even with some of the guys the couple of guys that have left the Lakers, one of which we'll be talking about later in the countdown.
I wonder who that is.
Wonder who that's good.
I don't think the Wizards made the top 5, so I think that'll narrow it down for people. In terms of Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves, I still think that Luka's still one of the biggest draws in the NBA. I think even whatever team he was on, I'm sure from his perspective, he hopes there's no more middle-of-the-night trades to some other random team. But I think people are going to come to watch him play. He's one of the more exciting guys that can go for 50 points in any night. Hopefully that doesn't happen against New Orleans. So I think I still have the Lakers high on my list. It might be, I had them 3rd on my list. So I still feel like they're one of the teams that people are excited to see.
Yeah, I actually like this top 5 because I believe the top 5 was my top 5. A little bit out of order, but I think I also had this game 3rd because it's whenever the Lakers come to town, no matter who has been on the roster, it's you've seen a little bit more purple and gold in the stands. It's also just fun watching Luka play basketball. You know, 78 or 79 other games of the year. Don't like it as much when he's on the opposing side from the Pels, but it's again another team that has completely changed their makeup this year. You know, without the other guy that's going to get mentioned in this countdown later on, how they're going to do it. Fascinated to see how Walker Kessler works with this group now. You know, it's. I thought the contract that they gave Walker Kessler, I was like, okay, that's about right. But then when they also had to give up the picks to get Walker Kessler, I was like,
yeah,
it's you got to make sure you hit on that if you're LA. So, how does that look? I know he's not as much of the traditional big man that Luka likes to get to. I mean, he can get up there. He's obviously going to catch some lobs from Luka, but definitely more of the defensive anchor that they've had in the past. So they're kind of, again, shifting how they look a little bit. So can't wait for that one.
Yeah, look, Luka and Austin Reeves, to start the season last year, had the Lakers looking pretty good when we met them over there the first time in LA before, who was part of that team. And let's see how that roster and makeup is going to be. So those are going to be fun games. As you mentioned, it's always an interesting thing for the fan base. At number 4, though, I kind of want to touch about San Antonio because obviously, I don't know. I mean, how surprised were you that they played in the NBA Finals last year?
It's a team that I thought they would get there eventually with that team, with Victor, and obviously been there covering them for a year. I feel like they were ahead of schedule, and I feel like many in the NBA thought they were ahead of schedule, but it's also, you get the pull of them. It's why, if we were ranking true home games, one of the, like, technically we have 40 home games in the regular season inside the Smoothie King Center, because one home game is going to be played in Manchester.
Right. This is the only time they're in the Smoothie
as a part of the global game. So that would be probably higher on the list if we were actually having that here. But the Spurs are 4th. It's the only time we see them. It's December 20th, which is going to be a stacked road trip. We'll talk about one more game in that a little bit later. That's also the trip where it finishes, the homestay where it finishes with OKC. But the only time that the Spurs, the Western Conference champions, are coming to the Smoothie King Center, obviously you can see Victor Wembanyama, one of the more unique players in NBA history. It's a very exciting time, I think. And so kind of, I think that was my second game that I had on my list.
Yeah, I had this high too because, I mean, the 2 games that the Spurs came here last season were both incredibly good games.
Yeah.
I mean, one of them was the home opener.
Played them amazingly well.
All 5 times.
Right.
Amazingly well.
And I think we saw, this is mentioned in the Pelicans.com article that you should read, but Derek Queen was great against the Spurs last season. I mean, he had a couple of his best games. He had a 30-point triple-double. Unfortunately, I mean, it was a play or two in both Pelicans home games against the Spurs that cost them the game, but then they won. I mean, probably the most impressive win of the season was the game they won in San Antonio in January, where they had a lead, lost it, came back in the fourth quarter to win. I mean, just to me, if you just, obviously, unfortunately, there were 78 other games, but if you just looked at the 4 games that the Pelicans played against the Spurs, you could see a lot of the potential and a lot of talent that New Orleans had. For whatever reason, they matched up. I said this a few times last season. They matched up better against the Spurs than OKC matched up against the Spurs.
So that's just the NBA, though. I mean, it's certain teams that, for whatever reason, you just match up better. Like, Pels were like that for a long time with the Clippers, and it just felt like you had a team's number. And then sometimes that goes against us in some instances. But it's weird things in the NBA that I think that also played into, I think, why I had them too, is how all of those games were very good games.
Yeah, and they really were.
And so I think that also plays into it, while getting to see one of the NBA's, the new faces of the NBA, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and I mean, people forget they were predicted to go maybe finish like 8th or 9th in the West going into the last season. Yeah. And then they end up all the way to the finals. They beat OKC. I mean, it was, if you look at the big picture, I mean, it was pretty stunning what they did last season.
And we saw during the season, they were a team that could match physically with OKC. They beat them during the season. And I think the thing that's intriguing more than anything else, you saw them improve through the year with those young players. And they had leads in the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
You could almost make
the
NBA Finals. So that's going to be a team starting from scratch from game 1 that has a little chip on their shoulder because they want to take that next step. Well, look, we're counting down the top 10 home games for the Pelicans this season. We come back, games 3 through 1. Don't forget, you definitely want to join us over at the Blender this season. Go to pelicans.com/tickets, and you can get in that number there as well and check out some of these really interesting home games as we are going through our top 10 list of most intriguing home games this season. Don't forget also pelicans.com. Mr. Jim Eichenhofer spent hours and hours and countless days during the summer and fall to get you ready for that. Actually, it was just a few minutes, but go check it out. He has all of that, a little more breakdowns here as well as we continue with our top 10 list. And that leads us to the second team that was in the NBA Finals. Gentlemen, we just spoke about the San Antonio Spurs, kind of a surprise team. And look, I I think of the two games that the Pelicans took on the Knicks last year. Jalen Brunson comes to mind, especially the fourth quarter. What's it, 15 and 13 points in each of those games, respectively, and he closed out. He was the closer in the finals. He was the closer last year. I think when the world champs come in town, which will be December 16th, Pels fans will be excited to see them.
Yeah, it starts a really interesting homestand that also we talked about the Spurs are also on that homestand. The Thunder are here right before Christmas.
It's crazy.
So, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to watching them. I remember the game here was a game that was winnable for the Pelicans as well. But as we saw, and unfortunately for the Spurs, they saw how clutch the Knicks have been, especially with Jalen Brunson and just the team overall. Obviously, OG Anunoby had one of the most probably memorable plays of the last 25 years in the NBA. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a game that I had ranked. I think I had this one 5th on my list. So, looking forward to seeing the defending champions come to town.
You know, it was funny because just going back and thinking about that OG Anunoby shot that won the game, and it's I cannot say what I said on my couch as I watched that shot. I don't. Yeah, not here at least. I'll tell you guys sure if you can't imagine it. One of the things I think that it's has stood out to me over the last few years, not even the last few years, last what is it 7 or 8 years now, is the parity in the NBA when it comes to NBA champions. It's an unprecedented streak of a different champion each of the last 8 years.
Yep.
8
years. Yep.
So sometimes when injuries happen, you going back to this time last year, all the talk was about how Oklahoma City was starting their dynasty.
Sure.
And they had the next X amount of years on lock. And even getting into the playoffs, you're thinking, okay, maybe they got to get by the Spurs. They're going to get by the Spurs. And then they don't. And it's whoever was coming out of the East felt, whether that was going to be Cleveland, whether it was going to be Boston, whether it was going to be Philly, you felt like, okay, maybe we got a chance because of what's happening over there. New York played out of their minds in the playoffs.
That streak was incredible.
They were, before you even get to the finals where they had, comeback after comeback after comeback, they were steamrolling teams through the first 3 rounds. And so it was the perfect example of a team catching fire at the right time. Obviously, not to say that they weren't. I mean, they were a 50-plus win team. They were obviously a very good team all season, but the clutch factor that we saw with Jalen Brunson was there. And I think that's just one more reason why, they earned it. And so, and it was good to see some guys with some local ties get it. Obviously, we saw Josh Hart get a ring. We saw Mitchell Robinson, who we talked about previously with Boston. But of course, I think a reason a lot of us had this on this list was Jose Alvarado, now making his return to.
Certainly, the trade happened. The Knicks had played here in December. The trade didn't happen, obviously, until February. So this will be the first time that Jose Alvarado comes back to play here. And I'm sure that he will get a huge ovation. I mean, it's probably going to be one of the biggest of a player coming back here in a long time. So, yeah, I mean, I felt the same way. I mean, you had to feel good for him in terms of him being, to be able to go to his hometown and the team that I think he rooted for when he was a kid. And then to be able to win a championship right away, I mean, with how beloved he was here and some of the things that he brought to this franchise, how much of a difference he made in winning and losing when he was on the court versus when he was sidelined with injuries. So, yeah, it was cool to see him win a championship. And I think, to your point, I don't think this is really a slight at all to the Knicks, but there's been a few recent champions, OKC being probably the best example, that the next season people are like, this is the favorite. This team is unquestionably that I don't feel that way with the Knicks. People aren't saying like, this is team hands down that they're the best. I think it's Knicks, Spurs, Thunder, probably those 3 are the favorites on paper, but you have a bunch of other teams, one of which we're going to talk about later.
Let's talk about a little disrespect, which that's foreshadowing here in a little bit. But what's interesting is I can't really think, even with Jordan's Bulls, I mean, the streak that it was like over a month that they went the Knicks did without losing a game once the playoffs started. Like, that's unheard of.
It is.
And a playoff game.
It was winning by double digits. That was the other thing of it is how they were winning games in the playoffs that stood out.
All right. January. January 28th. Philadelphia 76ers are in town. I don't know if y'all knew this, but LeBron James is a new member of the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't know if y'all know this. Jaylen Brown is a member of the Philadelphia 76ers. This is going to be a very interesting team. I don't know how it's going to work. I don't know how Joel Embiid. I don't know, man. But I look at this. Jim, we'll start with you and get to Andrew here as well. I am intrigued because this is the only time they're in town.
Yeah, I mean, this is, to me, going to be not only maybe the most fascinating team to watch this season, but over the last few years, just this mix of players is something that I don't think we've seen very often. And I had them number one on my list. And I think part of my reasoning was I think even say LeBron signed somewhere else, I still think I would have had them in the top 5 after the Jaylen Brown. So you throw in LeBron, who on this list that I've been doing for going back a bunch of years, whatever team he was on was always, probably top 3. So you add him to the mix of Maxey, Embiid, they bring in Jaylen Brown. And to me, I was like, I think from a fan standpoint, this is one of the first ones that when the schedule came out, I looked at, okay, when do the Sixers come to New Orleans?
Again, I'm going to be selfish again.
This is a theme.
This is a very good theme.
This is also the last game before the 12-day, 7-game road trip that we have been talking about so much in this podcast. So I will cherish this night because I will not see this place for nearly a month, it feels like. But no, all of that plus it's LeBron. You add him to that starting lineup. You look at that starting lineup projected. It's Tyrese Maxey, it's VJ Edgecombe, Jaylen Brown, LeBron James, Joel Embiid. Whatever plan they're going to have for Joel Embiid to play, I know he's not always played when the Sixers have come to New Orleans. Mm-hmm. So even if they're going to have some sort of maintenance plan on him this year to make sure he plays, there's still so much star power in this game. Mm-hmm. It's obviously still LeBron. It's obviously still trying to figure out how that lineup's going to work, how that bench is going to work. Obviously, they're still making a couple moves there. But I think I agree with Jim. Like, even before the LeBron signing, I think this was still going to be a top 5 matchup. And it goes back to the theme that we've had. A lot of these games have been the only time this team comes. And that's now, for the first time in 9 years. Granted, there's sometimes when the Lakers only would come here once.
Right.
But you knew before the schedule came out, there was only one time that LeBron James was going to come to New Orleans. And frankly, this could also be the last time that LeBron James comes to New Orleans, which I think would make that, you should have it higher on the list.
For the record, I don't believe that, but it's possible. That's possible.
Could.
Well, here's the thing.
He does have another kid playing.
To y'all's point, look, that's not just a game that the fans get amped up, but we've seen it, right? I mean, we're in the locker rooms where we talk to the teams. The players get amped up. They know who's in town. They know that star power. They know lots of eyes. And look, everyone likes to play in front of a sold-out crowd. That team's going to play in front of a sold-out crowd all season, and I think that's going to be a tough ticket for sure. All right, we've made it all the way to number 2. Coming up next, our most anticipated home game of the home slate schedule coming up this season for the New Orleans Pelicans. That is next. We come back on the podcast. All right, I want to get into this in a very specific way. I'm going to ask each of you to define it in a different way. Disrespect. What is the definition of the word disrespect to you? Like a word definite, like Webster's dictionary. How would you describe and define disrespect?
Just being slighted, being insulted, I would say.
Okay.
Probably.
Andrew, how do the streets look at the word disrespect?
I think I know where you're getting at.
Yeah.
If you haven't figured out what number 1 is, I think it's still something that you have to go out and fight off yourself. There's a reason that people say things. You have to go ahead and do something about it.
Okay, so on the streets, when you hear the word disrespect, that means a little different than the word definition?
A little bit.
Okay, a little bit more. Takes it to heart a little bit more?
A little bit.
October 21st, the Indiana Pacers are in town. Jim, why is this the disrespect game? What are we talking about?
I feel like a lot of people know this, but I'm going to, just in case you missed it, Tyrese Halliburton had some issues with the first game of his comeback from an Achilles injury, being in New Orleans against the Pelicans. So I think that's the route. He felt disrespected by that choice by the NBA to schedule his first game as that.
Not looking at the Pels as a win, Andrew. It's disrespectful that the league chose the Pelicans in New Orleans for his return.
Right, and I think it's one of those things. Look, it's in his comments. He talked about being away 16 months, and I'll even give him, hey, maybe it probably should have been a home game.
Sure,
I'll give him that.
Reasonable.
But it's also, again, my reaction to hearing it was the same as it is now. Do something about it.
Right.
Do something about it. And I think this game for me, this was my number one on my list. Before this, I think Jim's scientific start for this was before that happened, or maybe it was a little bit right before.
Mm-hmm.
Had nothing to do with it. It's number one on my list because it's the first game of the season.
No doubt.
I think many times, if we're going to do these lists, my number one, it's going to be the first game of the season. But definitely when you have a brand new coach implementing a new system, and a lot of talk over the offseason of what did or did not happen with the roster. I want the season to start. I'm ready. I'm ready for basketball, and I think after 6 months of not having, Pels basketball, I'm ready to see what Pels basketball looks like again. So, was my number one before that, but I do think that maybe the Smoothie King Center is a little bit more riled up than what they would have been for even a regular season opener.
Yeah, and I don't want to push people in a certain direction or coax the audience, but I mean, I would think that under normal circumstances, when Tyrese Halliburton is announced, there's some cheers and some clapping. Hey, we're welcome back to the NBA. I don't know if that's going to be the case now. We might get some boos if I know the New Orleans fan base and our friends in the stands. But I mean, to me, to Andrew's point too, Tyrese Halliburton was disappointed that the first game was scheduled for New Orleans. I think the Pelicans have to look at it like our goal is to make it even more disappointing in terms of how the game unfolds. And obviously you have to win this game and play well, because if you don't, then it's not going to matter that you were motivated and people aren't. It's not going to be brought up again that the comments that Tyrese Halliburton made in the summer. So, but I'm with you, Andrew. I mean, to me, you can be upset, and I know a lot of people are with the things that he said.
Yeah.
But now you got to do something about it.
This is the first regular season game under Jamal Mosley. You'll have 4 preseason games to see, a little bit of, okay, how's this going to work? But look, we're probably not going to see a preseason game where starters play 32 minutes, 35 minutes. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be your real first look at what the defensive assignments are going to look like. How is it going to work offensively? What is going to be the start? Like, all of that is going to work itself out. And again, it's why this might have been my number one anyway, aside from all of that, because I'm ready to see Pels basketball on the floor.
All right, well, I know we're excited. Andrew, Jim, as always, a pleasure. Pelicans.com/tickets. That is the best way to go check out how you can be a part of not only those top 10 games that we've been going through, but the entire season. We hope to see you there over at the Blender at the Smoothie King Center. As always, thank you for checking us out on the New Orleans Pelicans Podcast.